With the president doubling down on his sudden focus on birthright citizenship as a key issue, Texas Democratic Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke says not only must we protect the 14th Amendment, but we must also protect the 200,000 dreamers from across Texas from the fear of deportation. His opponent, Republican Senator Ted Cruz, joins us now from Amarillo amid a campaign bus tour. Senator, thanks for taking a break, making some time for us tonight.
Shannon, it's great to be with you. Thank you for having me on.
All right, you are an accomplished Supreme Court advocate. I've seen you in action over there. You've said before trying to take this to court and win on those grounds of getting rid of birthright citizenship as part of not outlawing, but interpreting the 14th Amendment in a different way. You said it's an uphill battle, but you've also said more recently the policy doesn't make sense. So where do you stand on that?
Well, listen, as a policy matter, President Trump is exactly right that birthright citizenship doesn't make any sense. Most of the countries on earth, if you're there illegally and you have a child, that child doesn't get automatic citizenship. And there's no reason that we should grant that. What it ends up doing is incentivizing illegal immigration. We need to be securing the border and stopping illegal immigration. So I agree with the president. I've long agreed with ending birthright citizenship as a policy matter. Now, how to do it, there's a debate among legal scholars. Some legal scholars argue the only way to do it is with a constitutional amendment. Other legal scholars argue that you can do it with a statute passed by Congress. I think whatever happens, it's going to be litigated. The courts are ultimately going to resolve this. And the president has suggested that he may try to do it with an executive order. I haven't seen the legal arguments for what the authority would be to do it with an executive order. But my view is whatever means is used, the policy is the right policy, that we should not be encouraging illegal immigration.
We're going to have a legal debate on it with some experts tonight as well on the show. But as the policy matter stands for now, right now in Texas, the latest Q poll has Hispanic support split this way. Beto O'Rourke gets 60%, you get 36%. Texas is a very interesting, very diverse state. What do you plan to do to try to win over the Hispanic vote in these closing days into the midterms?
Well, listen, we are barnstorming the state, every part of the state. I got to tell you, we were down in the Rio Grande Valley just a couple of days ago. We had 2,000 people come out in Harlingen. We had 2,000 people come out in Mission. We had over 1,000 people come out in Laredo. And one of the things that Democrats and Beto O'Rourke and the national media get wrong is they think the way that you earn Hispanic votes in Texas is you go to the left. You do what Beto has done, and you support open borders, you support amnesty, you support socialism, and that's just not the case. Hispanics in Texas, our community is a conservative community. The values that resonate in our community are faith and family and patriotism and the American dream. And Texas Hispanics don't want open borders. If you look at Beto O'Rourke's record on immigration, it is terrible. I mean, he supports tearing down the border walls we have. He supports sanctuary cities. He opposes Kate's Law. I'm the author of Kate's Law in the Senate. I think that's the sort of common sense legislation that Hispanics in Texas and everybody else want to see enacted.
Well, and that's something you guys have debated very hotly. Immigration, a top issue, but also polling shows that the other, just ahead of that in the #1 slot, is health care. I want to run a little bit of an ad that Beto is running and give you a chance to respond.
Ted Cruz has voted to take away health care from millions of American families. He's tried repeatedly to roll back protections for pre-existing conditions, and he shut down the government for 16 days because he thought too many people had too much health care.
Polls show that people trust potential voters, Democrats more, to handle the issue of health care. It is something they're campaigning very heavily on this fall. So how do you respond to his accusations?
Well, listen, Beto knows what he's saying there is false, and he's looking in the TV camera and deliberately telling falsehoods. I have been very clear. I've got a legislative record on this. Last year when we were debating repealing Obamacare has been a disaster for Texans and people all across the country. It has driven premiums through the roof. The average family's premiums have risen over $5,000 a year. And I introduced legislation. It's called the Consumer Freedom Amendment. The Consumer Freedom Amendment, what it said is if a health insurance company sells a policy in a state that meets the Title I mandates, including pre-existing conditions, including everything else, that it can also sell any other policy that consumers desire. And HHS, the Health and Human Services Agency, they had their actuaries and their experts score the Consumer Freedom Amendment. Here's what they found. The Consumer Freedom Amendment, which I introduced, would have expanded health insurance coverage by over 2 million people. More than 2 million additional people would have health insurance. But it would also drive down premiums by an average of over $5,000 a year, all while protecting pre-existing conditions. And so Beto O'Rourke is deliberately trying to mislead Texans. My position, we are going to protect pre-existing conditions, period. And that was the legislation I introduced. It kept that protections, but it also lowers premiums. You know what Beto wants instead? Is he wants full-on socialized medicine. He wants the federal government in charge of your health care, which would produce scarcity, it would produce waiting times, it would produce rationing, and it would also bankrupt Medicare. That's not what the people of Texas want.
Well, we'll find out next week which senator they want. Senator Ted Cruz, thank you for dropping in on your barnstorming tour. Good to have you tonight.
Thank you, Shannon. And let me encourage everyone at home. Number one, come out and vote. It's early voting tomorrow and Friday. Election day is Tuesday. We need every Texan to come out and vote. And come to our website, tedcruz.org, and contribute. We're getting outspent 3-1. This is a battle for the future, the direction of the country, the future of Texas.
Thank you, Senator.